All right, we are back. This is Creativity is the Cure. I am your host, Malcolm Moore, and today I have my very good friend, Paul Salmons. How you doing, Paul?
I'm doing pretty good.
Let's go over how we know each other. It's kind of funny. We both lived quite a few years together in Las Palmas in Hollywood, right? And what we called Papi's Paradise. You want to tell everybody why we called it that?
Yeah, we had a cat, all-black cat, Papi Chulo, who had extra toes.
He wore a bow tie sometimes, right?
He did wear a bow tie. He was very elegant, put together.
He would come over to our apartment for years and wait at the door and then just like stay with us for the weekend.
Yeah. He would visit the Moors.
He was big.
Yeah, he had a big cat.
Big cat, yeah. And also our wives are best friends, Christine and Papi, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to go over what you have on LinkedIn so everybody understands what you do. You wrote experienced producer with strong background in cinematography and post-production. And then you said, I enjoy challenging new projects that push creative limits and also appreciate textbook accuracy on the more routine projects. Some of the things that you do, I have that you're a producer, camera operator. You have electrical here. What does that mean exactly?
Yes, electrical on film sets, you have an entire electrical department that's led by the gaffer, and they work directly under the cinematographer. The gaffer would coordinate with cinematographer, decide how they want to light a particular movie or a commercial or a short film, and then later execute it with the team of electricians. So I worked in every realm from the electrician who just gets told what to do, to the best boy, which it goes into hiring and making sure all the gear is on the truck, to the gaffer who oversees the big plan.
And by the way, what is a gaffer for people that don't know out there?
Yeah, the gaffer is the head electrician. Basically, he would create the lighting plot, and he would help design the gear list to make sure when the cinematographer says, give me 20 lights over here, that we get a generator big enough and enough cable to make sure we can power all those lights without blowing anything or setting anything on fire.
Also, you're an editor. I know what that is. Some of the companies you've done work for are Amazon, Nike, Pepsi, NBC Universal, Sony, and then Proto Hologram. That's a company. Tell me a little bit about what that is and what you guys did.
Yeah, let me take you back a little bit with holograms in general. You forgot to mention cinematographer, which is probably the thing I've done the most in my past.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
That's a big deal. And that's how I got into holograms as well.
Ooh. And why don't you tell everybody that might be a novice like me, what exactly is cinematography? I know it's kind of a broad term.
Cinematography is what you see in a movie or a show on a commercial. What is the camera capture? There's the camera. Behind the camera is a camera operator. And behind the camera operator is a cinematographer telling the camera operator where to look, where to point. And up above the cinematographer, you have the director. So the director says, hey, I want this movie to be dark and gritty.
Yeah, so the color scheme can have something to do that. I remember we saw this crazy horror movie called The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Mm-hmm. And halfway through, I go, oh my God, the color schemes are from one of my favorite painters, Francis Bacon. Yeah. So would that be cinematography?
100%. So, the director would say, I like Francis Bacon's work. Let's go research it and let's make my movie look like his painting.
Right. Very cool.
So, and then I consult with the director and say, hey, here's why that's a good idea. Here's why that's not a good idea. We don't have the budget to make Man on Fire, which is a common reference. Everybody says, I want this to look like Man on Fire. And it's like, yeah, okay, let's get Denzel. Right? Yeah, let's get Denzel and like $100 million. That'd be great. No, we can't do that for $2,000.
Yeah.
But I get where you're going. You want something dark, gritty. I get it. And that's my job, is to kind of consult with you. Hey, let's manage our expectations and try to make the best we can with what we have. A lot of times a director will be like, hey, we're going to go shoot in my garage. And I'll have a little bit of leeway to be like, hey, we could shoot in your garage, but if we put up a bunch of plywood and we paint it, right, it's not going to look like your garage anymore.
Right.
We're going to spend $200 and it's really going to take us there. I did that on a project that kind of got a lot of steam called Racist Captain America.
Right.
And it's about Captain America waking up in modern day time. And my buddy, Michael Blevins, he was like, yeah, I want to do this in my garage. We're going to put camo net up. And I was like, let's do the flats. And he did it. He did it all the way. He did it in his living room instead. And he painted all these flats blue.
Wow.
He put his TV as an x-ray machine. And it looked like we were in a laboratory. And it looked so much better. So, basically what the cinematographer does is we consult with the director to advise the crew. The cinematographer has 3 teams under him. He's got the camera team, which is the camera operator and the ACs. And then he's got the grip team, which is who's in charge of rigging. If I need a light up out of the shot and it needs to be hung by metal,
Right.
or we need to put up bounce cards, or we need to diffuse the sunlight, the natural sunlight, the grips take care of that. If there's lights going up, the electricians will handle that.
You know what I'm starting to notice the more TV and movies that my wife Christine and I watch is it seems like there's a trend now. Have you ever seen this? You're watching a TV show and the person, one of the actors is wearing an outfit, like a blue outfit, but all the stuff in the background is the same blue and it matches. Have you noticed that? Seems to be happening more and more.
Yeah. You know what happens is that kind of stuff happens and everybody starts wanting that. So
that's a trend now.
Yeah. You know, the big trend that I think we're just kind of getting out of is super heavy depth of field, really low aperture, really blurry backgrounds.
Right.
We just went through a big phase of that where everybody was shooting really shallow depth of field and everything was just blurry in the background. And I think we're moving away. A lot of trends.
And I remember the Steven Spielberg one for a while, or what's it called when someone's going through something
the vertigo shot.
Yeah, the vertigo shot. Yep. It's like when the background and the foreground starts going in and out.
That's a hard shot.
Yeah.
That's a tricky one.
Is that difficult to do?
It is. It's really difficult to do, but when it pulls off, it's nice.
Now, this is a crazy question just for fun, but I have like my top 10 movie cliches that I never want to see again. Tell me if you've seen any of these. It's a horror movie, and there's a girl running through the forest, and the bad guy's chasing her, and she trips over a twig, and then he gets her. Another one is a car chase in a garage, like a big spiral garage, right? And then you've got the one where 2 people are talking, but one person is looking out the window, and the other person's behind them. Yeah. I'm always like, I'm like, nobody does that.
Yeah.
The final one, this drives me nuts, is when there's a car chasing someone down a street and they keep running in front of the car. And I'm like, go to the sidewalk.
Weave.
So you've seen those, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a lot of times those, you know, when we're on set and it's like, have them both facing one way so that we don't have to shoot the reverse coverage. Sometimes it's a time thing.
Here's a quote. I know this is kind of obscure, but this is by a Scottish psychiatrist named R.D. Laing. And he once said, the universe was a vast machine yesterday. It is a hologram today. Who knows what intellectual rattle will be shaking tomorrow? Now, the reason why I say that quote is you've told me about a lot of things you worked on. Holograms, green screen, what they use in Star Wars called the volume. Where do you see the trend going? I know some of these things have been phased out. I know that some directors are getting into building physical sets again. What are you seeing? Like where people are going technology-wise? Or is it a mix of all those?
If you ask me, it's going to be all video game technology.
Well, actually, I forgot to point that out. As you know, our younger son, Caleb, works with Unreal Engine, and I just saw the new Predator movie. And I'm watching this, and then we call our son. I was like, was this done with the Unreal Engine? Because it's really cool, but it looks like paintings moving in a video game.
Yeah.
So tell me more about that.
Yeah, I mean, once we can get the graphics good enough, there's going to be no reason not to use it. It's way too easy to have a couple people or a team of people just design a video game level, and then you can move the cameras. You don't have to spend all day lighting shots. You can shoot scenes. And then with AI, I mean, you're going to have AI actors. It's all going to be done in video games.
Yeah. Now, this is a controversial question. What are your thoughts on, I know everybody making movies is against AI, but I was wondering the other day, okay, you can't as easily have a big TV show or movie with a lot of people that are working on it. But will that allow more people that don't have a big budget to make movies by themselves and at least get their ideas out? What are your thoughts on that? And I've got to compare this because I'm a musician. A lot of the big studios closed because, I can record right here in my studio or in my bedroom, or Billie Eilish and her brother Phineas did their first album in their bedroom. Right. So what do you see as the balance, and what's your opinion?
The question being, will AI help the low-budget filmmaker? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Right now we're kind of in a turning point between Unreal Engine and AI, and AI every week something big is coming out, new revelations. It's getting bigger, better. You're able to use the same characters now.
The deep fakes are getting harder to tell.
Yeah, it's all getting really good. It's tricky when that simplifies to the point that a storyteller can become a technologist. They're going to be highly empowered to create really good movies, and I think we're going to get a couple of those. I don't see that being the trend. I think a director and a writer, really good directors and writers and creatives tend to not be great technicals. In my experience, there are a couple here and there that they can meld both really well. I don't see that being the go-to. I think what's going to just generally happen is you'll have smaller teams.
Right.
Which has already happened, right? With the advent of the DSLRs getting the full, the bigger sensors and interchangeable lenses, that opened up filmmaking for low budget filmmakers everywhere. And now you're able to go with a director, a camera guy, a lighting guy, and a sound guy. Right. As opposed to when it was on film, you had to have the focus puller, you had to develop the film. Everything was prohibitively expensive. So I think everything will get cheaper and smaller, for sure.
Right.
But you do miss that Tim Burton, let's create a crazy set. We have limited film. Everybody's in it for this moment. Lights, camera, action. Let's go. You miss a lot of that.
Right.
And we can see it in movies today. They're all the same. They're all, not all, but most of them. You don't get great movies at the rate we were getting in the 90s and the late 80s, right?
Right. I think for someone like you and me, I grew up as a musician at a time where people were recording on tape. Yeah. And I remember it when it went to digital with people like Frank Zappa and stuff like that. So I know a lot of young people that make music just with a computer, but somebody like me, at least I have the depth of knowing how it used to be done, and I might be able to bring more to the table to tell a younger person. And same with you with film, right? Right. The old school ways, and you can apply that to some new kind of technology.
Yeah. Small details, right?
Yeah.
There's the scratch of a record that you can't quantify, but it adds a layer and depth to the track sometimes.
Yeah.
Same with film. Subtle camera push. Something's getting more intense. You as the audience don't even realize the camera's moving, but your heart races more. Yeah. Creating contrast with lights, dilating the audience's pupils in the theater. That's a form of me engaging you.
Well, it's true art if you don't even realize it's happening, whether it comes down to the acting or the directing. And I'm thinking of, I just had my friend Justin Wade on here, and he's on that new show, The Pitt, that Noah Wyle made. Uh-huh. And not only are they bringing work back to Hollywood, and everybody on the set lived here. Yeah. But the interesting thing is it takes place in the ER room, and it is so real. I swear to God, within 10 minutes, you forgot you're watching a TV show.
Sounds good.
You're just terrified when you're in there. Also, speaking of small groups of people, sometimes it's done the old school way without AI, without the technology. And one of my favorite movies is called Last Days in the Desert with Ewan McGregor. From what I read, they did film it the old school way. They went to the desert. They filmed it. By the way, this is this great movie where Ewan plays the devil and Jesus. So if you haven't seen it, check it out.
What year?
2015.
Okay.
The amazing thing is I think the crew and the actors were less than 10 people.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool that you can still do lo-fi but old school and have some realism.
Yeah. Super cool.
When we were talking about using AI and Unreal Engine, it makes me think of a great story. One of my favorite directors is Neill Blomkamp, and he's the guy that made District 9 and Chappie and all that stuff. But from what I read, he made a 10-minute movie of Halo that he wanted to do. Started shopping around the film festivals, and Steven Spielberg saw it. They couldn't do the Halo movie, but he ended up making District 9, which came out 2009, but we just rewatched it. It's ageless. Yep. The effects and everything are so good. It looks like a documentary. It's just amazing.
I was in school. I was in college when that came out, and we were having the same talk that District 9 just came out. Everybody's going to do things digitally, and this is the end of filmmaking. And it was like, well, only he did it because he's really rare case of being very, very technical and very, very creative, right?
Yeah, he's a good balance. And again, when you watch that, there's a lot of movies with CGI that look really dated now, but that one doesn't. And I'm guessing he had a little mix of makeup, costumes, tweaking with computer, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think the AI and the other technology going around like Unreal Engine, I think is just inevitable. And like anything in life, we just have to get used to it and think of a new way to do it.
A lot of people that are using the volume.
Yeah. Can you actually explain? Because not everybody knows what the volume is.
Yeah. So a volume stage is basically a big giant screen. Instead of like a cyc wall, like a green screen cyc wall, it's a screen. And oftentimes they'll put screen on the floor too. So you can change your walls and you can change your floors to be a background, like a desert background, for example. And then you can connect the background to Unreal Engine. And you can connect the background to the camera live. So if I put you in that space with the background being desert and I move my physical camera, there's cameras tracking my physical real life camera and my actor. And as I push in on you, the scene pushes in also. So you can basically be anywhere, anytime. Now,
so this isn't even motion capture, right?
That is motion capture.
Oh, it is motion capture.
To a degree, because you're not mocapping the person, you're mocapping the camera. So when you start adding cactuses in real life onto the volume stage,
right,
and you throw a tumbleweed through there and you have people moving,
yeah,
it's almost impossible to discern that you're actually not in that space.
And most people that have seen the show The Mandalorian, I know they did a lot of those scenes like that, right? Do you find when you've worked on it with actors, do they like that because they don't have to imagine things when they're in front of a green screen? Does it help to see their surroundings?
So I haven't been able to work on the volume live.
Yeah.
I've only done it through green screen, and then we key it out, and they have to act against the green screen, and we get to see what they're doing.
You get to see, but they don't get to see.
And yeah, there's a whole nother level of acting that's difficult that you got to wrap your head around. I think they did it in Lord of the Rings with the dragon. They had an actor dragon who wasn't a real dragon, obviously, but they had to act against a dragon. And a lot of times you see people on set with tennis balls where the head's going to be. And
yeah,
it's
like K2SO in Star Wars, right?
Yeah. And it's like, I got to act against a giant nightmare dragon, and it's a tennis ball.
Do you think that the volume is being phased out because of other technology, or do people still use it a lot? I think the first time I heard of it was The Lion King, right? The realistic version.
That it got used?
Yeah.
No, I think it was Gravity.
Oh, the Sandra Bullock?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the first time you heard of it?
That was the first time I heard of it used really well, especially as a light source.
Yeah.
Because they put the sun in the cube.
Oh, right.
And it was actually spinning, and that's what they used for the lighting source also. I think that technology it takes more planning to use than people expected.
And therefore expensive?
Prohibitive is what I would say, because they show up on set and they're like, hey, this background's cool, let's add some more bushes. And the guys are like, that's going to take us 3 hours. And it's
so
like,
they have to program it on the computer,
you got to change the level.
Right.
And you got to, and then you got to render it all. And it's like,
gosh.
So you have to be better in your planning when you do this. You can't, there's not as much freedom to just.
It's almost like storyboarding. You better be ready to go.
You better be ready to do it.
And they can't do it on the fly.
Yep. And I think there's talent that are going to be really good at using the volumes.
Yeah.
Like Star Wars.
Right.
And there's going to be people that just can't adapt to not, a lot of times I show up on set and people just, they've done no planning whatsoever. And sometimes they get something really great.
Right.
Because that's just how they work. They feel the energy in the set and it's going to be magical.
Right.
That doesn't work with high levels of technology a lot of times.
How did you get into working with holograms? And let me tell you, my favorite painter is Salvador Dali, and I'll never forget when I was in St. Petersburg with my parents, I got to go see some of his artwork, and one of the pieces was a hologram he did in the early 70s.
The Pepper's Ghost.
So the technology's been around for quite a while. Yep. So with that in mind, tell me how you got into it.
So I've been a cinematographer for a while, and then the coolest thing almost every cinematographer wants to do is work on a feature film. And my buddy approached me and said, hey, I've got this feature that I can't shoot. It's going to be working with this crazy billionaire who's a total psycho. Nobody likes him. The shoot is going to be terrible. It's
Sounds
going
good.
It's going to be the worst thing you've ever done in your life. And I was like, I would love to do this. Let's do it. So we did it. It's called Bob Thunder versus the World. And it's actually this YouTube guy who plays a bunch of parts, and he wrote and directed and acted, and we made the feature film for him. The company that funded that film was a company called FilmOn, and they had a patent on holograms out here for Pepper's Ghost.
Okay.
And to quickly break it down, Pepper's Ghost is basically there's a projector mounted into the ceiling, and it would shoot into the ground off of a projection type screen that's made to reflect, and then perpendicular to that, almost at a particular angle, there would be a piece of mylar, and mylar is like a thin foil that you can see through, almost like window tinting is what that looks like.
Right.
And what it would do is it would catch the reflection of the image to make it look like a hologram, and that technology is called Pepper's Ghost.
Okay.
And this is widely used in Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
All their Halloween spooky rides.
Oh, like in the haunted house and stuff.
They use a lot of Pepper's Ghost. Salvador Dali. I'm not familiar with the piece itself, but I'll bet you it was probably Pepper's Ghost.
If it was early 70s, for sure. Yeah.
That technology has been around for quite some time. I shot the film for them, but they also did holograms, and so they brought me in to do more holograms with them, and that was really cool because I got to play in a whole new space and dive really, really deep into how to make a hologram look more real.
You've actually become a specialist of that.
Very, very specialized. And I've worked for, 4 companies now, I think, doing different big projects.
What was one of the most challenging projects you worked with that involved holograms, and why? What can go wrong?
What can't go wrong?
I think I brought this up to you the other day. One of my favorite bands, Gorillaz, when they first came out, they were using holograms live, but I was telling you how they found out the bass frequencies would mess up the image, right?
Yeah. So the holograms of today, the more prominent ones are using what's called like a scrim hologram, where you put up a net almost, and it's got like silver reflection in it. So it'll catch the projection, and you can just shoot the projection straight at it, or you can rear project it, and it shows up much more clearly. The problem with that is it's kind of invisible, and it takes some time to set up.
Right.
So a lot of times we set these up in theaters, we'll put it up, and then come back the next day for tech rehearsal.
Yeah.
The problem is that the internal crews don't know that it's up, and they'll just walk right through it. And it's like, well, great, now we need another half day to set this thing back up.
Yeah.
That's definitely some of the challenges.
One of the biggest challenges, yeah.
Just people walking through it and messing them up.
And from what you've told me, a lot of the hologram projects involve celebrities or performers that are not around anymore. Mm-hmm. And so explain to me, I think you told me once you need kind of an actor, a regular person, to physically act it out, and then you superimpose the celebrity's body or face onto that. How does that work?
Need is a strong word. You don't need anything anymore. I'm working with somebody where they've used all AI off of a still image and pasted it right on there, and it works. Typically, the way we've done it for some of the bigger holograms like Whitney Houston,
right?
We would shoot a body double, get somebody that can dance really well and that can move like Whitney,
right? And
that has similar attributes at least.
That must be some really fun auditions.
Yeah. And then with that one, we had Fatima Robinson to direct, and she used to work with Whitney directly, and Michael Jackson, and I don't know if she worked with it. I think she's worked with Whitney. I can't remember, but I know she worked with Michael Jackson. She worked with a lot of big people, especially throughout the 80s and 90s. Amazing director. And her idea was like, let's get somebody that can move. If we can get somebody that can move, we can do everything else the other way.
Right.
And she was right. We
somebody that can copy that person's mannerisms, right?
Yeah. So we did full prosthetics, nose, cheeks, forehead, all that stuff. And then we took it to Lola Digital. They did a lot of Marvel stuff a while ago. And they take the face and they splay it out into a 2D. And then they get in there and they take all the reference images from all of her concerts, and we work with Whitney Houston's estate to decide on what look do we want, what age do we want her, what look, How do we want to keep
Oh,
this
and then
feeling?
the estate has to approve it.
Oh, yeah.
That can be difficult.
Oh, it's probably the scariest part, especially
After you do all the work.
yeah, especially when we're just doing like basic makeup tests and they see the footage and they're like, this doesn't look anything like it. And it's like,
Yeah.
this was the very first test, guys, and there's no digital applied yet.
Right.
And they're like, let's scrap the project. It's like, well, let's work through it first.
Right.
So, yeah, definitely super challenging. But that's the process is, get somebody that can move and look and act like them, throw on some prosthetics, throw on some digital, and you'll get some pretty good results.
You just mentioned this one thing that sounds familiar. I know with the newer Star Wars shows, and some of them, they have Luke Skywalker reappear, and it's Mark Hamill. From what I understand, they have a younger actor play him, but they also have Mark go through all the movements. But then the thing you just said, they go back into all the footage they have of him at that age, and they include it. How do they do that?
I'm not exactly sure.
I mean, you did it with a hologram, so...
Yeah. So a lot of it is reference. Take them, overlay them. This is where the eyebrow should be in relation to the eyes,
Right.
the nose, which is the deep fake, which is all getting automated now, right?
Right.
With your facial tracking, when you do the cat filter and it tracks your eyes.
Yeah.
It's all so much easier now. All they have to do is basically just move the pieces there now. And really good artists, people that understand the body.
Right.
And, when I draw a picture of a face versus an art, they know they know how it all splits apart.
It sounds like the technology is changing so quickly. What do you do to keep up? You just talk to people and read about it. I mean, it must be really nuts that if you work on a film or a TV show and you come back 6 months later, it could be radically different, right?
It could be radically different. It's all dependent on the set you show up to also. Like the Pitt, the ER emergency room, they're probably not using as much heavy technology
Right.
as opposed to being in space,
Yeah.
right? It's just, like the bear. The bear was a really good one where they're in the kitchen and, I think, was it season 1, episode 9 or season 2, episode 9? They did one that was a one shot on a Steadicam and it felt like you were there in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Because they pulled you in without any cuts and the anxiety is building and building and building and you feel like you can't barely breathe.
Right.
It's storytelling. So to answer the question is, yeah, sometimes it just depends on what set you show up to. Sometimes I show up and it's, okay, we're going to do this the way we've always done it. And then sometimes I show up and we gotta turn a human into Chester Cheetah and beam them into Las Vegas as a hologram. And it's a totally different show.
But no matter what you do, it really comes down to a great editor, director, and cinematographer, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That combination, if there's a weak link, I'm sure that...
Yeah.
Or the writers, too.
The writers, too. Yeah, well, it just depends on the set, right? Because when we're on a film set, there's the trifecta, which is the assistant director who keeps everybody on track, everybody on time, and keeps to the schedule of the day.
Right.
There's the director who will be blamed for everything. And then there's the cinematographer. And what we always say is you got to have two of those doing a good job to make a good movie. It's rare that all three are getting along because usually the AD is nagging the cinematographer to hurry up so we make the day.
Right.
And the director is nagging the AD, we need more time, we need more takes.
Yeah.
So everybody has to be down somebody's throat because it's rare that everything just works out the way it was planned.
I was wondering what you think about this. So I recently had my friend Tom Caltabiano on, who's a pretty famous writer. He worked on Everybody Loves Raymond and a lot of other shows. And he's the one that taught me that on a film, the director is the boss. But on a TV show, in most cases, the writer, also maybe the showrunner. Often the same person.
Yeah.
Have you found that to be true?
I haven't worked on big syndicate TV shows. I've worked on some stuff, though, and the showrunner is the boss.
Yeah.
On that. And then on film sets, people might not respect it, but the director should be the boss.
Right. And I would think in TV shows, sometimes the writer's the boss because you have to make so many episodes. They probably have to give people sides and change lines on the fly.
And they got to keep it still within brand, right? Because if you change something on the day and it's like, yo, that character would have never said that.
Right.
And now we're stuck into it 3 seasons later. He said he would never drive.
So it's like a continuity issue.
Yeah. It's a long form running show.
I'm not going to go all the way back in time, but is it true you were in the military?
I was.
What did you do in the military?
I was a vehicle maintenance. I worked on cars. I was a mechanic.
The reason why I asked that is, what do you bring from being in the military into being a filmmaker?
Chain of command. That was a huge one in the military. If you had a problem, you took it up to the person above you. You didn't take it to the person above them. If the person above you told you to do something, you did it.
Right.
And you didn't question it.
Right.
They're the ones responsible for that job. You do it. And that's the same with filmmaking.
You have to set your ego aside, right?
You have to completely set it aside. So when I'm an electrician for a cinematographer,
Right.
I don't get to tell them how to shoot their movie.
Right.
I do what they want.
It's
I
not your
advise
job.
them. I advise them, hey, here's what I think. This is the best way. I think under the circumstances, we should do this. No, do it this way anyway. Okay. Let's do it that way. You've heard me. You're the one that's going to get blamed for it, not me.
Right.
And, that same thing when I'm the cinematographer working for the director and, he's telling me to get a shot that I don't like. I'm not the one that's going to carry the responsibility of that later. He is.
And he may ask you at some point, what do you think?
Yes.
But until then.
And
do what he asks.
We figure that out as we're working. I'll have a relationship where a director will say, hey, I really want your input. And then I have another director who's like, point the camera and shoot. Just light it, please.
Right.
So.
And do you think the discipline of the military helps you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you think of an example of that?
Well, I think that just kind of ties into, you've said your piece. You're not allowed to throw a fit anymore.
Right.
You do it. You're here for the job. You accepted the job. You said you would do it. Go do it and complain about it to somebody else later.
Right. And how about when you were working on vehicles? Has that helped you technically?
Totally.
Working on physical machines?
Absolutely. Especially, lights, rigs, understanding technology. Between the camera technology is just as bad as AI. Every 6 months there's a new camera. We've got dual native ISO. We've got HDR, 4K, 3D. And that's not even when we get into debayer patterns.
You're already making me want to get index cards. Right. Can you keep all this stuff in your mind, or you just like that? Wow.
Yeah. And, when I was in college and I was reading about codecs and bit depth or color depth and bit space, I was blown away and I couldn't keep it all.
Yeah.
I sit down and I talk to other creatives on set when we're waiting for something, and then we start delving into this, and then I'm reading books and looking online, and
right.
And just like learning anything, if I asked you about what hertz are you going to record at, it's really easy for you why you would do that. For me, I'm like, I don't.
Probably do something else I do is when people ask you, can you do this? And you go, yeah. And then you go home and go, oh crap, I got to figure this out.
100%. And you know why? It's because I've told people no. And then later I'm like, yes, I can now.
Right.
So, I think that makes me a better person to work with is I try to always say yes.
Yeah.
And then I try to tell them how long and how much.
Well, and you also trust yourself now. You know that you can figure out.
I know I can figure it out
quickly.
And if I can't, I can find somebody that knows it.
A couple weeks ago, you told me one of your favorite film directors is David Fincher, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to read a quote from him. There are some movies I can watch over and over, never get sick of. I put one of those on, and I'll be puttering around the house. Then a certain scene will come on, and I'll just have to go over and watch. What's a movie for you like that?
Matrix.
What's one that you'd never get bored of?
Matrix, I love it. I put it on, and I'll stop, and I'll just get enthralled by it. I love that movie. So good.
Wow. And what do you like about it? I mean, I remember it was innovative.
Yeah. Innovative, but it's deep. It's... Everything about that movie was thought out. Every single tiny, minute detail was planned and thought out, and it has resonance throughout the rest of the film, and it's dripping with cool.
Yeah.
The Morpheus's phone, click, is so cool. His glasses are really cool. The trench coats are cool. The guns are cool.
So the aesthetics of it are cool.
Everything.
Yeah.
Even color theory. When they're in the Matrix, everything, all the blacks are tinted green,
right?
Because they're in the machine.
Yeah.
And then when they come out to the real world, the blacks are black.
Wow.
The little details.
So there's a lot of subliminal things going on.
Now in Seven, another good example with Fincher is Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman are walking down the street.
Yeah.
And Brad Pitt has just met with Morgan Freeman. He's the young upstart detective. He's eager to get involved. Morgan Freeman's been doing it. He's a little bit more casual about the whole thing, a little bit more thought out. Right. They're walking down the street, and all the extras are bumping into Brad Pitt and almost like forcing him back like he's going against the river, going against the grain. And Morgan Freeman just glides through.
Yeah.
And it's like, That's something you don't notice inherently, but it's there.
Right.
You know, that's good filmmaking right there. You know, Seven, they had a different ending.
Really?
And Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt said, if you change that ending, we're not going to act in this movie. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's true.
Well, I know that a lot of movies, right, they'll shoot a bunch of endings just to see which one works.
And they'll test it on audience.
Right, and then you get the Blu-ray and you can watch all those.
I thought that was great that they said, no, we're going to keep the original ending. It doesn't have to be a happy ending.
Right.
It's not a happy movie.
Well, that's what happened to my favorite movie of all time, Brazil, by Terry Gilliam. Yeah. The studio edited it and put it out before he was ready and made it a happy ending.
Terrible.
All right, so let's go way, way, way back in time. What is your first creative memory?
Yeah, I have this crazy memory from when I was 5, 6, 7. I don't know how old I was. We were supposed to write a short story about the class pet.
What was the class pet?
The class pet was a hamster or a gopher or something. Goober.
I remember they used to do
Goober
that. Yeah.
Was his name. And I wrote a 3-page short story about King Goober and Excalibur and how he became the king.
Wow. That was awesome. How old do you think you were?
5 to 7, somewhere in there. You know, I'm looking at my 5-year-old daughter and I'm like, I don't know if she could write a 3-page story right now, but maybe I did.
You could probably make a movie with her with all your skills. And
yeah,
she's pretty creative.
Yeah. We're going to get there soon.
How about your parents? When you were growing up, were they creative?
So I didn't grow up with my father, and I've never actually met him. But I grew up with my mother and my grandmother, and they were very much not creative. My grandmother grew up during World War II in England, where she was hiding under tables in the cages when they would bomb. So it'd be like the siren would go off, everybody get under. Her whole family got split up. She had I think 5 brothers and sisters.
So when you go through hardships in your life, you're like, this is nothing compared to my grandmother, right?
No, I cry and whine like everybody else. And my mom, she was basically a single mother with my grandmother, and she was working 2 jobs. She also had narcolepsy, so she was always sleeping.
Wow.
And early in my childhood, I didn't see a lot of creativity from her at all. As I was approaching my teenage years and I was becoming more independent and get away from me, she started doing, she was a flamenco dancer.
Whoa, that I didn't know. That's really awesome.
So she was always going to flamenco parties. She was in deep in San Diego flamenco scene. I think it was called the Espeña Andaluza. And she would make the dresses. So she had 12 of these gigantic flamenco dresses, handmade. And
I love that music.
That was her creativity. I wish I had some of her dresses still. I don't.
Wow. And that probably the timing and the rhythm of flamenco dancing got you with your editing and your pacing of movies, right?
Yeah, maybe.
I think we knew each other when you found out about where your dad is and what he did. Is there anything creative about his life that you know of now that you might have gotten some of your talent from?
I don't know much about him. I know he owns a small business in Spain.
Yeah.
I think it's a gift shop, but I don't know anything about his creativity or anything.
Right. How about your 3 kids? Have you seen any creativity come through them?
Crazy. I don't know if it's genius or creativity. I don't know what it is. They're so cool to me. I imagine every father feels like
different.
This.
They're also different. Yeah.
They all have their own little traits. Yeah. I come in and they got the magnetiles, and what they didn't understand how to put them together last week, and then this week they've got a 4-foot tower.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how'd you get that? Maya's learning chess just crazy quick, and she's making up her own rules.
Yeah, and your kids are really young. The twins, how old are the twins?
They're 2.5.
2.5, and Maya's 5.
Just turned 5, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, they're hilarious. We were just over there.
A lot of
They always come to me with all kinds of projects.
So much energy.
Let's draw this. Let's build this.
Yeah.
I showed one of them how to make a paper airplane, and then they were doing that for an hour and a half.
No, they were doing it still. They're still building airplanes.
Yeah. I remember your daughter, Maya, she saw me making it, and then she just constructed an airplane, and she threw it and fell onto the ground. And then she came over to me, and she's like, okay, show me how to do this the right way.
Yeah. That's what they say. Let me do it. Let me do it. And I'm like, you don't know how to tie your shoes yet. Let me do it. Let me do it. All right, go ahead, try. Daddy, can you help? Yeah, let's come on. But I love that they try. They keep trying.
But that is, when I was a teacher for 12 years here in California, that's called constructivism and letting the kid try first. You don't want to just pigeonhole them and say, here's the only way to do this.
Yep.
Right.
And it's hard as an adult because I'm always in a hurry to go somewhere. So I'm always like, come on, hurry up. And then I'm like, okay, try.
Right.
Try. All right, now let's go.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to step aside and remember, like, they have to do it.
Well, it is hard to slow down these days because we're all so busy.
Yeah.
Do you think creativity could be implemented in curing people or at least helping people with mental health struggles like depression and anxiety?
When I shoot a project like a feature film where I'm embedded in it for 20 days, and before that, leading up to it a lot, when a few days after I wrap and my phone isn't ringing and I'm not on set and I'm not forced to make a million creative decisions a minute,
right,
I have like a deflate.
Yes.
And I have like a burden on myself.
Yeah.
And I miss it and I want it back.
Yeah.
And even now I haven't done anything creative in quite some time. And I'm telling my wife the other day, like, I want to do something creative. Like,
yeah.
Now I'm looking at training videos and I'm like, oh, I'd love to edit that. And I'm like, man, I want to get creative. So to tie that into, can that help? I think it's just like working out. My confidence is through the roof when I'm doing a project that I'm overwhelmed with and I can't keep up with it. And I'm making decisions and I'm thinking and I'm trying new things.
But you also don't have time to be depressed.
You don't have any time,
you're like, you're like a painter with your nose on the canvas.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Really good feeling.
You brought up something that I experienced, and I know a lot of artists do. You helped out with this a few years ago. I had my own live theater show for kids called Mr. Malcolm's Music Factory, and my friend Matt Ritchie wrote it, and we had Henson puppeteers. It was so exciting. We did 6 shows. But when they were over, I was just depressed. And my friend Matt's like, oh, yeah, you're depressed?
Yeah.
And he goes, that's what happens when you do an artistic project that is really exciting.
Yeah.
And then you got to come down from it. It's tough.
It sucks.
Yeah.
And you're always chasing that high. And it's even worse when it's tied to your income. Right? Because now you have meaning to go, If I'm not working and I'm not being creative, I'm doubly one. I feel depressed because I'm not being creative. 2, I'm not making any money.
You don't have to worry about money when you have a project. Yeah, yeah. Even well-known actors that I know, they between projects they're unemployed.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about 3 directors that you are inspired by and why?
I've always kind of faulted myself for this, but I think early on I was like, I don't want to look up to people and actors and directors and put them on this pedestal.
Right.
And I think that was a big mistake early in my life. I also have a hard time remembering facts because I'm around a bunch of friends that are really like, oh yeah, this guy did this. Especially you. Yeah, you're really good at that stuff. Oh, this guy did this in 77. I'm really bad at like.
Well, we can go by a movie. Tell me 3 movies that inspired you. Yeah.
Matrix, 7, Mad Max was a pretty.
The original?
Fury Road.
Oh, okay.
The original was cool, but Fury Road took it. I've never seen an action film that I remember in the theater.
Is that the latest one?
No,
the one before the latest one.
The first one, yeah.
With Charlize Theron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember I was in the theater and I think at 45 minutes in, I was like, and I was like, whoa, that was so intense. And there's been so little dialogue. This is an action film. To me, how do you change a genre like action in the early 2000s? They did it. They did such a good job. In Matrix and 7, just so well.
Yeah.
Again, even with Mad Max Fury Road, I think the similar thing between a lot of these films is the Matrix. They had 10 years to develop this film. Mm-hmm. And then when Matrix 2 and 3 came out, everybody's like, oh, it's not as good. It's like, well, They didn't spend 10 years making those films.
Right.
Fury Road. The last time he'd made a Mad Max film was a long time. We had a long time to really dial in the guitar player hanging from a truck. That's incredible. That doesn't come quickly.
Yeah.
It's
also good to go, if you'd like that series, go back to the first one because it always blows me away they filmed it in college. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
To go from that to the second one.
Yep.
Wow.
So little dialogue. So just great use of the format.
Yeah. Speaking of films without any dialogue, there's this great Robert Redford movie called All Is Lost, where he's on a ship in the middle of the sea. There's no talking at all. And it's so exciting and breathtaking and terrifying.
Never seen it.
Yeah, that's a good one to check out. 2013.
Sounds difficult. You know, one of the things they tell you in film school is don't assume your audience is stupid.
Yeah.
And I think what happens is studios get a hold of the movie and they're like, you need to explain everything. It's like, you don't have to do that. The best films...
I think that goes with all kinds of art too.
They let you play in the space. Like, what's going to happen? What's going on? Let me decide. Some films just, they cold open in the middle of a situation. It's like, where are we? What's going on? And it's like, let me figure that out. Let me get my own bearings.
It's like when they put the narration on Blade Runner.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't need that.
You don't need it.
There was a great animated movie last year called Flow about a cat that is on a planet and there's like a great flood and he and all the other animals are trying to survive. And number one, it was done with all open source, cheaper animation software. So that was cool. But this movie is so engaging and you're on the edge of your seat. You should show your kids.
Is the kid safe?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll show them for sure.
Really cute.
Sometimes we put on National Geographic and then like a hyena is chewing up a honey badger and I'm like, Bobby, what are you doing?
Wait, have you seen the things on YouTube of that, but it's Snoop Dogg narrating? So good.
No. That's hilarious.
Well, listen, what can I help you promote? If people want to hire you or see something you've done, where's the best? I saw today you're on LinkedIn, which is pretty good and technical as far as what you do. What social media are you on, and what's the best way to contact you?
You know what? I'm not on a lot of social media. Google my name, Paul Salmons. Look for my demo reel. You'll see some of my work as a cinematographer.
Is that on IMDb?
It'll come up on Vimeo.
Okay.
Just Paul Salmons.
That's your demo reel.
Yeah.
And that will include your zombie movie that I remember you filming?
That was actually Leroy's film, but I shot it for him.
That was the what?
Leroy's film.
Oh.
He directed that, and he paid for it. And
your brother-in-law.
He sold everything he had for about $5,000 to make $5,000 to make a zombie film.
I think our older son Django was in that, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Pretty much everybody in our apartment complex.
Yeah, we had like 40 zombies at one point, so anybody that was available.
All right, so before we go, what are the different things you do that people can hire you for?
I am a producer first. If you want to make a movie, you want to budget it, and you don't know where to start, call me. If you do know where to start and you just need somebody to handle the specifics, let me know. And then I'm a cinematographer also. So I shoot.
So even a young filmmaker, if they want to make their first film, you pretty much can put everything together for them.
I can A to B, I know everything.
Yeah.
I'm not a specialist in sound. I'm a specialist in producing and cinematography, but I've done everything, even sound.
So even if it's something that is not your specialty, you know the people to hire.
100%. Yeah.
Awesome.
I've got a huge list of people that I trust, high end and low end. If you're an independent filmmaker and you need some contacts, hit me up.
All right, Paul. Always good to talk to you.
Thanks, Malcolm.
All right, see you.